RPA Simplified is an RPA Jargon Busters podcast series where we showcase industry experts to discuss intelligent automation and its impact on SME and mid-market financial services, healthcare, and other related fields. I'm your host, Tolani Jaitikolo, and on today's episode, we'll be discussing something quite unique. We'll be talking about nocode IDP. IDP stands for Intelligent Document Processing. We'll look at nocode IDP and real-life use cases. So I'm joined today with Joe Sensmots from MetaMaze. Joe is an interesting fella. Joe is the Strategic Partnership Manager at MetaMaze, and he loves all things. There's so many things about Joe. I've seen him do a bit of DJing stuff online. I've seen him do quite a lot of things. And Joe speaks, two languages. So Joe, welcome to IA Simplified, and let's hear from you.
Hi, Tolani, nice to meet you. Great to be here. So Joel Sensmans. Maybe I'll give a short presentation about myself before we dive into the topic. So I've been working for AI consulting firms for the past 4 years. And then since about 2 years for one specific company called MetaMaze, which uses AI and other technologies, which we'll discuss later, to basically process documents and emails. Today I'm responsible for the partnership landscape at MetaMaze, so technology partners, consulting firms, basically anyone who wants to use our technology to help their clients.
Really glad to have you here today. Because there's a whole lot I want to talk about no code. But I'm going to start off with congratulations on your Companies Award as a Tech Startup of the Year. It's very interesting to see that. I'm really excited for you. And what does it feel like working for a tech startup?
It's great, and it was great before having the award, of course. But I think it's a good recognition of what the team is doing. We're a rather small company from Belgium. We're about 30 people now, sometimes competing against companies of 1,000 employees. So it's really good to see that we're doing something right in that sense, and that the award is a good recognition to confirm that. So it's a team effort, but it really gives a boost in morale, of course.
I love that. I really, really love that. Then let's delve into the topic. It's an interesting topic today. We're going to start off with the most common misconception when people talk about IDP. Can IDP be no code?
Of course, and in most cases, it even maybe should be. So what we see at a lot of companies is that they who are not using no-code IDP, that they spend lots of resources, both in the data science and the development teams, to actually build these automations, and they build them use case by use case, and each time they have to start from scratch, which is not really scalable. So what we truly believe at MetaMaze is if you have more of a SaaS product approach, a no-code approach to this same problem, that you have a much more scalable approach to IDP, because then you can reuse the components of the features actually of a product to build these automations on top of the same product. So yes, it should be no code, and basically another positive point about that is that you can build these automations with business users and not really using developer resources or data scientists. Myself, I'm a functional profile. I cannot write one letter of code, but I've built dozens of machine learning models over the past years by using these types of interfaces where you can train your own models, deploy them, retrain them, do human validation, all of these things, without really being a data scientist. So yes, indeed, it puts the power of AI in the hands of business users, which is, in my opinion, the best way to use IDP or AI.
And coming from there, let's talk about low-code IDP. The industry, some members of the industry believe that IDP should be no code, while some believe it should be low code. How does the low code IDP differ from no code IDP?
So I think it's a bit of both. So some of the the steps in an IDP process, going from a document towards structured data, there's lots of steps in between. And some of those steps can be, in my opinion, no code, putting them in the hands of business users, while some of the other steps, like complex business logic that you want to add to these pipelines, can still be a bit indeed low code, or even have the opportunity to put some of your own code inside the product through specific steps in that processing pipeline. So it depends a bit on which step of the document processing journey you're talking about. But in general, I believe that you should have, as an end user, like someone working in accounting department or someone working in a customer service department, they should be able to do the retraining of the models, the data annotation, all these types of things should be no code. But then if you're configuring the platform, there should be some room to add some custom code into that pipeline. Because of course, you cannot put every use case completely in a no-code way in a product. There will always be some exceptions. So that's how, at least how we do it. We have different steps in the pipeline, and then in one step we allow for the user to add some code, to add custom logic to that pipeline that is specific to his or her business case. And it's a combination of those two approaches that works best, in my opinion, of course.
I'm going to come back to that. Some of the interesting things you talked about, allowing customization for the customization by the business. But I want to, before we progress into that section, I want to talk about what's really driving the no-code space. Why would any business decide to go fully no-code with IDP? What's this movement all about?
Yeah, I think the most important thing there is time to value. So I'm not exaggerating if I say that we can build AI models in 1 or 2 days. Well, if you're starting from scratch, you'll be working for weeks or for months to do the same thing. So if you have all the components in a no-code way already available, it's just a matter of uploading training data, doing some annotations, training the model, which is all just clicking a button, waiting, deploying the model, and you can start using it. So it's really about time to value. If you have a fully developed platform, which took, I think, thousands of man days already to build, and it has been done for you, you will not have to spend those thousands of man days yourself. Or if you start building from scratch, it's a bit the buy versus build thing here. But if you have a really no-code approach, one thing is you can go a lot faster. So you can go to production a lot faster, and you can go to production without having the need of IT involvement. They will still be involved because, as you know, security will always be there from an IT point of view. So they will be involved, but in a different way. They will not carry the project. They will more guide it from a security point of view and all these things, and maybe some integrations. But the project itself, setting up the automation, is fully in the hands of the business unit, which is, in my opinion, better, and it will go a lot faster, and it's just a better way of working, in my opinion.
Interesting. Let's talk about some practical use cases of IDP, especially in the no-code space. Let's talk about, MetaMaze. Does MetaMaze offer vertical solutions, or do they offer horizontal solutions?
No. So what we have built is more of a generic IDP platform in a sense that we have built a platform, a tool set that can be used to automate any email or document flow. And what we see in practice then is that there are some industries that have more use cases and more volume of emails and documents. So we work a lot for banks, insurance companies, governments, logistics companies, because those are the organizations that still receive lots of documents and emails. It's still like a struggle in those industries that they cannot find structured ways of exchanging information. But it could be used for any industry. Yeah? We also have clients in the chemical industry that do like these types of chemical reports. or lawyers, notaries. Basically, if you have enough training data, which is at this point not that much, a few hundred examples maybe, you can train an AI model to understand any document or email type. And that's what we strive for, is that we have a platform where you can go from having nothing to a working AI model for any document type in the shortest time span available. So if you tell me tomorrow, Joel, I have school reports from my kids and I have 100, we can train a model to extract these grades. We could. I mean, it's just a matter of maybe a day or 2 days work and then it's done. So the platform could be used to help automate data extraction and classification of anything. But in practice, you see that some of the industries just have larger use cases and therefore better business cases.
So let's touch on one of the areas you solve a lot of problems. Let's look at logistics. Can you give me some practical use cases in the logistics space?
Yes. So there's plenty, and it depends a bit. Logistics is a broad term, but we work for air cargo, for example. So the documents that come with an airplane, when it carries cargo, you have these airway bills. I think worldwide still about 6 million of these airway bills are typed over manually by a person, which is just crazy. So about 1 year ago, we started working with Champ Cargolux, which is a Luxembourg IT company, to actually automate the data extraction from those airway bills, so documents that come from airplanes. But also, if you look at road cargo, we automate the extraction from transport orders. So someone orders a truck transport, lots of documents come in, and then basically in the past, someone would open a PDF, type over the information into a transport management system, but that whole flow is also something that can be automated. And then you have these kind of niche use cases, as mentioned a bit earlier. We also work for chemical distribution companies that have chemical certificates related to supply chain operations. Same thing, these are pretty complex documents, lots of tables, lots of results from chemical tests. So in the past, without AI, you couldn't really automate that because there's no fixed template. But when you use MetaMaze, we build a model on, I think, 200 examples, and it's about 95% accurate in extracting all the data for their backend systems. So at this point, it's maybe a bit cliche, but you can do anything with IDP. You just need enough data and enough volume to have the right business case.
There's a whole lot of use cases within what you said, and it's quite interesting when I look at unstructured data and structured data. There's a lot of statistics out there. I think there's one from Forbes that really talks about the unstructured data is about 90% of all the data universe within an enterprise, which is quite interesting if you think about how people are actually processing structured data at this point. They're probably tapping into 10% of their data universe, and IDP really opens up a lot for them, gives them a lot of actionable insight. So it's quite interesting, hearing all these use cases, customer success stories. I'm really excited. It makes me very excited when I hear this. Then let's look at some use cases on the financial services. But let's talk about some of those use cases.
Yes. So we actually started out in the financial service industry. So MetaMaze was built for a large bank in Belgium, AXA Bank. And the first use case that we did, and where the platform was initially built for, was the automation of credit applications. So if you want to get a loan in Belgium, you have to send in your payslip, sales agreement from your house, the contract that you have with the bank, the proof of the car that you bought. So whichever you want to get a credit for, you have to send in lots of documents to the bank. And for AXA, we automate, I think, over 3 million documents a year coming from consumers that need to prove that they can get a loan, yes or no. This is classification, data extraction, signature detection, so it goes pretty far. But there's lots of other things that we've done in the past in the financial industry. For example, mailroom automation, because we're talking about intelligent document processing, but it's really important to highlight that the same technology can be used to automate the extraction of emails. So one of our biggest clients now in the insurance domain is Europe Assistance, which is an insurer in Belgium and in France, I think, as well. And they have lots of emails coming in from customers. And what they want is a classification of all their incoming emails into 70 different categories. Is this an email about license plate switch? Is it an email about an accident? Is it an email about this, that? 70 different categories. And then from some of the emails, they want to get the license plate, the name of the person, the date, and all these types of things, and then put them in their core insurance system. And then based on the reply, you can even do some automatic email replies to the customer. And it's a customer service solution then, because you're trying to handle your emails a lot faster than if someone would do them manually. So you process your emails a lot faster. You make sure that the right email comes to the right person as quickly as possible, so that the client, the insurance client, gets a good experience, that he gets helped a lot quicker. So those are two, one banking, one insurance case. That there's lots more of them out there. I believe the financial industry has maybe the most IDP use cases out there. But yeah, those are the two that we've done that are really successful. But lots of examples out there as well.
And I think this leads us to something a little bit more on the technical side of things. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about some of the what's within the product itself, MetaMaze. You've talked about it being a SaaS solution. Mm-hmm. It means that clients can just buy into the SaaS solution. Everything's really handled at that point. It's frictionless. But let's talk about different document types. What are some of the document types that the product really handles?
Yes, so it's pretty broad. The last time I checked, it was over 40 to 50 different document types. And with document types, I mean entity extraction models for a specific document type. So there's two types of models in an IDP solution. One is a classification model that you can train over different document types just to predict the document type. And then for each of the specific document types, we train a separate model that is capable of extracting all the specific fields for that document type. These models are language agnostic, so they can extract data in any language that comes into the model. And some examples. So it's a pretty broad question, but as mentioned, pay slips, sales agreements, prospectus documents, also in financial industry, which are really complex. Chemical certificates, different types of logistics documents, bill of ladings, airway bills, and then the traditional ones like contracts, invoices, ID cards. It goes pretty far. At this point, I think we've got about 40 clients using MetaMaze in production, and each of them has one or more. Most of them have more models running in production for different document types. So yeah, and then let's take it to 100. As mentioned, sometimes it's really fun, because if a client asks me like, "Hey, can you do this?" I can show them in like 1 week in time that I can build if they ask me on Friday, I can have a working AI model on Monday just by building one in my spare time. So it's really not that difficult to build these AI models anymore.
I love that. There's a variety of document types and all that. So it's quite interesting. And is the platform quite restrictive in terms of the input document? Does it accept PDF, CSV? What are some of the flavors that are out there?
Yeah, good question. So in general, our philosophy is to go from unstructured data towards structured data. And if you look at unstructured data, the most common formats that we see that we also support are any type of image. So any type of picture, a JPEG, a TIFF, whatever kind of image that you want to put in, and then any type of text. So Word files, PDF documents, emails, could be whatever. If you're talking CSV documents or Excels, we can handle them, but it's not really the core business of what we do. We do it for some clients because the case requires it, but then you go from structured towards structured in another format. But we prefer going from unstructured to structured because that's where the real value is. So yeah, PDF, Word, whichever type of image or text that you want to put in. If it's an image, we will OCR it and then use that text to do the AI predictions further. So yes.
Then let's look at some of the pre-built connectors. As one, I think this is one question I've been dying to ask. How this can be integrated with RPA, or how it can be integrated with other third-party systems. Can you touch on some of those, pre-built connectors?
Yeah, for sure. And it's all dependent on the use case. So I'm a bit repeating myself, but depending on the use case, there's different input and output connectors. At input side, what we see mainly are email folders. So we have a standard Outlook connector that we can read your email folders and get the documents and the emails there, or SFTP folders, or SharePoint, or a robot. And we have done cases with Microsoft Power Automate or UiPath or Automation Anywhere. And then the robot feeds the document or the email to MetaMaze. Then at the output side, it's a bit different because it's really use case specific. If you work for banks, the output connection will be to their core banking system in most cases. If you work for insurance companies, to the core insurance system then. But if you look at like invoice cases, it will be to an accounting system, an ERP system. So it's all really dependent. We have integrated with SAP, with Salesforce, wherever you need the data or the document to be. If you look at archiving, in most cases it's SharePoint, where we put the document somewhere in a folder and then give it a specific name. But what you mentioned about RPA is interesting because I'm responsible for the partners at MetaMaze. And one of the partners that we have the most are RPA companies, automation specialists, RPA companies that have UiPath, that have Microsoft Power Automate or Automation Anywhere, and they use that technology to automate different flows. But somewhere in that flow, they notice that their current technology stack is a bit too limited to really get data from unstructured or really complex documents. You can train a robot to extract data from a template. But if it becomes a bit more, changing templates or complex structure, a robot will fail or at least not get a decent automation rate. And what they do is they build an RPA robot, and then in one step, they will integrate MetaMaze to extract the data, give it back to the robot, and then if you're looking at accounts payable, for example, the robot will do the approval flow of the invoices with the data that came from MetaMaze. So in that piece, we're just a small piece, but a very important one, because if you do it without MetaMaze, you will not get the same automation rates, because you just have a robot that's capable of extracting template data, but not really unstructured documents.
You've kind of summarized, you've almost summarized, you didn't use that word, end-to-end automation, but you've kind of just summarized how things would come together with RPA, IDP, and then other line of business applications. I think that's very interesting, the way you've described it. And I want to talk about something else, just going from the technology. I want to talk about some of the things you're seeing on the market. Now, let's talk about demands. Are you seeing a lot of demands within the large enterprises, or are you seeing a lot of demands in the mid-markets?
Both. So MetaMaze, as mentioned previously, we serve SMEs, but our main target clients and existing clients are mid-market and large corporates. And there's, in both of the type of companies, there's a large demand. But the difference is that mid-market players are able to move a bit faster in certain situations. So what we see there is that they have more freedom to try new technologies, while maybe at some larger corporations, what we've seen at least, is that they're often stuck to technology from 5-10 years ago, which is more template-based or keyword matching-based, but they spend tons of money investing in that old technology, and now it works, kind of. So they're not really happy to replace it with something new, because they just spend tons of money on trying to get that old technology to work. And it's a bit more difficult replacing the technology there than in a mid-market organization, where they're often a bit more I don't know if agile is the correct word, but that they can make quicker decisions, and change their technologies landscape quicker. And I think that's a big plus that they have towards their larger competitors, is that they will catch some more speed by using the new technologies.
Let's dive into companies that are looking at implementing IDP, implementing intelligent automation, whether being the SMEs or mid-market or large enterprises. What are your, can you give one or two advices for how they can get started?
Yes. So in terms of use case selection, I think it's very important to look at use cases that have a high volume. It doesn't really make sense to automate things that have a really low volume. And if you're talking intelligent document processing, if you have a certain process that has 100 documents a year, please just type those 100 documents into your system. It's fine. You don't have to build AI models for that. You can, but it will not be beneficial. So you're looking at use cases that start from 15, 20,000 pages a year, then you will have a business case to automate it. And then if you're starting the implementation itself, and this is something that we learned the hard way, it's actually the biggest lesson that we learned at MetaMaze, but it's good that we learned it 4 years ago. Data quality is everything. So we build our platform always having in mind that it should not, that a user should not be able to put in dirty data. So we have lots of features built in to automatically control for data quality and all these things. Because if you, to make it very concrete, if you annotate means put labels on documents to feed an AI model. But if you put the wrong labels on a document, you feed them to an AI model, the AI model will make wrong predictions. It will be a really bad model. And in the past, what we have seen, what we have also experienced, is if you put an army of students on a project, like student workforce, and you tell them, you have to annotate 100 invoices, they really don't care if the quality is high or not. They really don't care. So your model will not be good, your automation will be low, and then you can start all over again. So it's really a matter of having a really good requirements, have really clear and good requirements on what does the document look like, which kind of information they want to extract. And then with that requirement sheet in mind, having the discipline to actually create good quality data, train your model on good quality data. And if you do that, you will not need that much examples. In the past, we would talk maybe 1,000 examples to train an AI model 5 years ago. Now, in some cases, we train models on 50 examples or 100 examples. But it's all dependent on data quality. And that's really the key message that I want to give. Data quality will really be the cornerstone of your automation, for IDP at least. So.
That was a good advice. We're coming to the end of the podcast. It's been very insightful. It's been lovely to have you on. You've touched on so many things that I think our audience will be able to benefit from, just from what a no-code IDP is, down to the use cases, down to the technology stack. It's been really insightful. But I want the audience to connect back to you. How can people reach out to you?
Well, I think there's 2 ways. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn and send me a LinkedIn message. I'm quite available there. And then the second one is by sending me an email. My name is a bit complex, maybe for non-Dutch speaking people, but it's j.sandsmans@metamaze.eu. Probably my email address will be somewhere in the comments, or I don't know. But feel free to send me an email or fill in the contact form on metamaze.eu. And it will eventually reach its way to me as well. So any questions, any inputs, I'm always happy to talk about IDP. So
brilliant. Thanks for coming. And just to summarize things from here, a full transcription of this session will be available online. It would be on our website, RPA JargonBuster.com. We'd also have a bit of snippets on LinkedIn of the full transcription, and also snippets of the videos will be available on all social media platforms. If you wanted to speak to somebody on the SME and mid-market delivery of intelligent automation, feel free to reach out to us as well through our website, rpajargonbuster.com, or you can also reach us through our email, info@rpajargonbuster.com. Until next time, stay informed.